Okay, hey, welcome to the Sloppy Modeler. Welcome to part 4 of the buddy build. I would call this the solo buddy build with the twin X-47Bs, one from Italy, which we completed, and now on to the Freedom Models version. And I'm actually pretty proud and pleased where we're at the moment. What you see here is the Freedom Models version XB47 with all of the seam work is done. It's been taped off, and currently it has a coat of Tamiya Fine Primer, and then it has a coat of craft paint, and this is just a mix between my whites and some blues to give me this really light ghosted blue color or ghosted gray color. Once that has been, once that was put in place and all sanded up, or once I sprayed it, it had a bit of a rough texture, so I came back with my 3600 and basically just cleaned it up to give me this really smooth finish here that I'm very excited about, and yet I haven't lost any detail. In those fins or in anything else that's going on here. So with that, because of this detail is so finely molded, especially on the bottom is just nuts how nice this all came in. My next step is I'm going to go back into the paint booth, and I am going to do a pre-shading with this. I'm going to do a pre-shading with dark iron. I'm not going to use black. I think black is too severe. So this is dark iron. Still fairly dark, but it's not black. It's not a pitch black. So I'm going to underscore all of these lines, or overscore all of these lines anywhere that you've got panels, like here and here. I'm not going to black base the whole thing. I don't want to do that. But anywhere I've got panel lines, I'm just going to pre-shade with a very fine, hopefully very fine process. And then once the pre-shading is done, we'll come back to you, because I might spray in some really light ghosted gray into some of the panels very finely. I haven't ever done that, so this is going to be an interesting, just an interesting experiment on mottling, if you will. So that's kind of the game plan, is that we're going to get this black highlighted on all the panel lines, and then see if we're going to model it with any really light white, and then we'll come back over it with our navy blue gray from Mission Models, and that's kind of the next set of steps there. All right. So I'm going to go to work on spraying this down, and we'll get that done. I also have here the these are the leading and trailing edges of the ailerons and flaps, and I did have just a seam join. It was almost like a real fine panel line, but I didn't like that. So all I did is I took 1500 primer from Mr. Surfacer 1500. I'm sorry. Mr. Surfacer 500, which is very thick, and use it as a putty filler. And once that dries, I'll go back after that with the sander. These have been hit with a coat of Tamiya Fine Primer as well, but there's not much detailing on any of that. So once that primer has been sprayed, I can come back over that and spray that again. So you can just see there that I've just run my paintbrush along that edge, and that's going to fill in that gap. And then we'll go over that and sand it again. All right, so welcome again to part 4. Happy to have you along, and this one's going to primarily work on the primer, and it's also going to, on the paint, and I'm also going to work on all of the pieces that go into this. So the bombs and the landing gear and the antennas, but that'll probably come in the final update on this. But right now I'm pretty happy with the way this looks, the way it feels. I'm anxious to see how that paint goes on, that dark iron goes on here, and we'll be back and I'll show you the dark iron highlighted when we come back. All right, thank you. Okay, back from the paint booth, and I'm pretty pleased with that dark iron. It's not a black, so I'm okay with that, but it really brought out the rivet detail and the panel line detail so nicely. I'm very excited about how this is coming together. Once again, I went ahead and resanded it with my 3600 grit pad there. And the next step is to go in with my pale navy gray, pale navy blue gray, and we'll get a coat on that. And then when we come back, what we'll have to do next then is we'll tape all this off, and we'll get white sprayed inside of there. And then using a very, very small brush, something like this. Using a very small brush, I can come in here and we can paint this. This gets the green color in here. It actually might be a bit of a challenge, but I think I can do it. Yeah, so we'll get green in there, and once that's done, then we shall be moving on to landing gear and other accoutrements of this model, of the X-47B from Freedom Models. So nice detail, Freedom Models. Like I said, we've just had some challenges so far with parts and so forth, but and instructions, but we'll get there. All right, I will be back, and the next you'll see is that this will have the navy pale blue gray, pale blue gray on there. All right, see you in a bit. All right, hey, welcome back to the XB47 from Freedom Models. This is the 1/48 scale. And I am out of the paint booth with my pale navy blue gray from Mission Models, and I am thrilled with my progress so far. So this has got that pre-shading done, where I went with my very fine airbrush and did a dark gray, that pale iron or dark iron, and went over this whole thing. I didn't use black, I didn't want to do that, but it really has given me just some fantastic coloring on the bottom through the panel lines, on the top, again, the panel lines here. And it's not our final panel line wash, but man, I'll tell you, it is just, I'm so thrilled. Continuing on with the X-47B from Freedom Models, we are out of the initial color phase or paint phase of the main body of the hull, main fuselage. I want to say hull like it's a spaceship, but anyway, I am very pleased with the way this has turned out regarding using that black basing, not the whole ship, but rather using that black basing with just spray painting in the black lines and then coming back over it with a couple of really light coats of that navy pale blue gray. Especially like through here, it really has brought out those panel lines even before we're using any panel liner. And then I've gone back over this with a 4000 grit sandpaper, and now I'm in the process of taping off these bays, both the landing gear bays and the bomb bays. Those are going to now get a coat of white paint after I've got this all taped off. Get that coat of white, and then we'll move on from more painting on there. But yeah, just really happy with the way that color looks like that. What I was trying to do was duplicate the box cover of the Italeri, that gray and that Italeri with, this might be a little light, but I'm really happy with the way that looks. Bringing that forward, I think that's going to be just fantastic after we get the panel line on there, and then of course all of that work I did for the with the oil paints on the Freedom Models, or the Italeri version. I'll duplicate that here on the Freedom Models, to kind of duplicate the process. The difference is going to be using that black basing in the panel lines at that stage. So right now, the next step is to get this taped off. Also working on taping off the main bomb bays and the landing gear bays. We'll get that taped off in order to get that painted. Now, that's been painted red around that edge. And my next step on those would be to use, go back to the gray primer and prime both the top and bottom of that with that fine gray primer from Mr. Color. And then use white. White just going over red is that's like an impossible task if you want to actually cover it up. So going with the fine primer first is going to be able to clear a lot of this up. And once fine primer is taken care of, then we'll go from there. Also got these have been sanded up now on the trailing edges of that seam. And man, that just using that Mr. Surfacer 500, just dabbing it on there and where those seams were, and then just a quick sand over the final edge. Superb, just absolutely come out just so nice to give me that nice leading or trailing edge all the way around there for the ailerons or flaperons or elevators, whatever you want to call it, on a flying wing like that. But yeah, so we're making great progress. Like I said, the next step will be to get this taped off, spray some fine gray primer in here. Actually, I'm not even going to need to do that. That paint's ready to go. We'll just get white right over the top of that. And once that white is in, I'm going to hand paint my dark green on this particular edge. Unlike the little tiny 172 scale, the 148 scale should be easier, I hope, to paint that green edge around there and bring that together. I also did pick up from AK their high quality masking tape for modeling. This is a 2mm version of that, which is right here. And that's what I use to go in between that little tiny section right there. It just seems to work really well. I also picked up some 1mm Tamiya at my local hobby store. Don't necessarily need that, but it's nice to know I've got it for those super tight areas that don't necessarily work to cut something in half or a third or a quarter, starting with a 6mm or 5mm or something like that. And of course, it's always nice to have handy your three sizes there: 18mm, 6mm, and 10mm. Those are the go-tos, have been the go-tos for years. All right, we're going to keep working on taping this off, and then when we come back, we'll have this painted white in here ready for the next step. And we'll see you in a minute. Thanks. Okay, hey, welcome back to the Sloppy Modeler, and welcome to the conclusion. Welcome to the conclusion of the X-47B, both from Italeri in 1/72 scale and from Freedom Models in 1/48 scale. We finished this up over the weekend and wanted to get this done and out of the way. I am actually really thrilled and amazed that this turned out the way that it did. There are strengths and weaknesses to both sets of models. First thing I'm really pleased with, I used the exact same paint and weathering technique on these that I did on each one. So I've got relatively the same color. This might have a little more streaking with the oils, but really fantastic the way that turned out. And then of course finally the way that the coloring and the matte coat that went on this provides just really, I'm very thrilled with it. I think that it looks amazing at that point. So we did already cover the little Freedom Models X-47B and the way that all that goes together, the folded wings and the bombs, and just really I couldn't be more pleased with how that all turned out in the long run. So we'll put that one to the side. The X-47B, and I'm going to use my little stand here so that those antennas don't break off. These really turned out fantastic with everything from the bombs to the landing gear I used a stainless steel from AK Metals, and it's just, well, let's exactly see what I got here. Yeah, extreme metal. Okay, this is the burnt metal, but I did use the stainless steel version for those wheels, and man, they just turned out nice. And then finally, just rubber black from Tamiya, just brushed on, and they turn out great. Spray the stainless steel first, and then use a brush, and you can brush the rest of the stuff on at that point. I am going to make a recommendation for anybody that builds this model. Again, I mentioned it earlier in the video that these pieces right here, the frames or whatever, I can't see how you can get those aligned correctly, gluing them first to the doors and then gluing the doors to this model. So what I would recommend is you glue these into the plane first on all sides, on all the different ones, including these little ones up front, and then glue the doors to that, and that should work out pretty good. I actually have a problem here that this piece never going to connect, no matter how you push it, and this would say that not really set up. But the weathering went fantastic on the bottom of this. I do like that decal. I like all the way that this turned out. The decals are actually quite good on this, and I had a blast doing all the weathering on that. So that's the bottom. The top here, I would say that these decals here for the black lines, the do not no step, or if you will, this radar dome, all of that just turned out fantastic, and I doubt if you're ever going to be able to see it, but right in there is the intake fan, and you can see it from there, and you can see the exhaust fan. Same thing, probably not in this light, but in real life you can see it, and they turned out amazing. So very, very thrilled with that. Painted these light ghost gray, all of the antennas, and they turned out just dynamite. And actually, I think clear on the bottom there's a little pitot tube right there. Same thing, gray, and the antennas and all that line up, along with the piece here for the arrestor hook, as this takes off and lands from a carrier autonomously, which I think is just go USA Navy, or yeah, go USA Navy. So I do want to walk through a couple of comments here, and then we'll wrap up. The decal sheet was excellent as far as the quality of the decals. Relatively thin, they didn't break, easy application, except for there is zero, and I mean zero rhyme or reason with the numbering here and how it actually goes together back here with these numbers. I mean, you might have a 36, 16, you know, and then you're just jumping all over the sheet to try to find any of that stuff. So, you know, sometimes, especially as small and tiny as some of these decals are, it just takes ages to get through that. It is nice to give you the little fret for the photo etch, and gives you all of this work here as far as the sprue trees and the numbering. Going through the sheet and how it relates to the build on this, these parts are just so tiny, even at 1/48 scale. I'm not about how many parts I can put into a plane. I just want it to look good, so mold that up in a couple of pieces and let it go. This alignment on this piece, that piece to the back, and making sure that it's all at the same angle. Again, giant pain in the ass. These two pieces here, I'm not sure if I can highlight those or not. Those two pieces there, these two pieces here, you would think that you would have, like a GoPro, 2 prongs here and then 3 prongs here. Well, it's 2 prongs, they don't match up. I had to cut them off, they don't fit. And I'd say that's probably the biggest weakness of this Freedom Models kits, is that their small little details do not fit with each other. You know, like this right here, going into that beam, you would have to drill that beam out in order to get it to fit. And it was like that across the entire model. So I would say that, you know, whether it's molding or whatever, it's just a giant pain in the ass the way that some of this fits in the keys that it's supposed to, and it doesn't. Left wing assembly, right wing assembly. I do like the fact that they break that out in their instruction set. Air brake closing, air brake opening, and all of that can work. I went with the closed, as you can see, naturally, just because, again, all this complexity, I don't have the patience for it at that point. This intake, all that went together really nicely. There were some gapping issues, but you're never going to see them on this plane. And then putting it into place, same thing, just use some clamps. All of the doors for the landing gear, for the bombs, etc. You have the door, and then you have this ridiculous set of parts that go on all of these, like that, especially like here and here. As I just mentioned just a minute ago, I would glue those to the model first, and then glue the doors to those pins, because you'll never get them lined up right. You never get these all lined up, and again, they don't fit. There's really nothing to connect those with. You're just basically gluing them with super glue and helping for that. They spend an inordinate amount of time. On this piece E8, and it's really not that crucial or critical, but basically it's where this piece of landing gear right here connects right there, and I don't know why they spent an entire page basically for these two parts. Again, connecting the doors to this model, glue on the connectors and make that happen. Same like right here. I mean, just getting that alignment is just a total nightmare, and it didn't turn out well. I would be honest to say. Gluing the fins onto the bombs, okay, but make it two parts. You can do that. Parts for the count, for the sake of parts count, I'm not a fan, and I don't care. You know, maybe people do out there that are purists, but that is not me. All of these little D18s, E16s, E35s, and all, they went on really nice, but I save all those for the very end, just because I'll break them off, and as you can see, I'm already using a support so that it doesn't get out of control. Now, this is terrible. These connectors for doing a stowed wings, I wasn't even about to attempt, because one, these instructions are terribly unclear, and two, this alignment here, specifically right there and there, those parts, these E15s, I don't see how a guy could ever get those straightened out, put together. Then you want these P9 photo etch parts that go over it. That's for the cabling that goes in. Okay, that's fine. Same thing here, this E17, getting all this to align and then gluing it to the wings. I will say this, that the Italeri model did a much better job of that. Part is just one part that has all that connector, and that gives you your alignments, and I would highly recommend that over trying to do the stowed wings on this Freedom model. You can do it, but it's a pain in the ass. Color schemes actually turned out pretty nice. You've got the decals, different types of decals, and I'll show you the ones that I went with. I went with, I'm going to guess it's like the shark style, right? Let's see here. Kind of the shark style at that point. So, had a lot of fun. The decals over this, really fantastic. And I'm really super amazed at this pre-shading having come through, that I get a really nice look of the panel lines throughout the entire model where there are panel lines. I'm very happy with them. It was a new experiment for me, if you will, with that pre-shading. And the other time I had done that was on the Battlestar Galactica Mark 7 Viper, but this turned out even far superior to that. And I think it's because it's that blue-gray over that. So what I did is painted my really white light gray first over my primer. Then I went back with my little 3mm or .03 airbrush, painted all that black, then painted over the model, and then used the gray panel liner from Tamiya, and then my oils to oil it up. And you guys saw all that on the Italeri models. So I'm really happy with the way that this turned out, in spite of the challenges that I faced. It is a pretty decent kit, this X-47B. I would say it's for definitely intermediate to advanced modeler to get it to look to do what you want it to do. But for me, I'm thrilled with the way it turned out. It makes a great, really a sizable model. I think it's about 16 inches across. So make sure you got room to put it in. I really like the way my intakes turned out, and the decaling I think really is what makes this model stand out. So that is the Freedom Models X-47B and the Italeri X-47B in 1/72nd scale. Kind of a real fun pleasure, and it's kind of neat if you can. If I've got a bunch of models that I have, like the 1/72nd scale, and then the 1/48 scale, or 1/44 scale and 1/72nd scale to do over the coming years. And if we can keep that going, it'll be a lot of fun. So for now, this is the conclusion of the X-47B. Very, very cool drone, and go U.S. military on some of this stuff for a lot of fun. Until then, we will catch you in the next one, which is going to be the HAL 9000. And I've got a couple of fun things to do with that from a special effects standpoint. So thank you very much for coming along, and we will talk to you soon. Thanks.